Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Barack Obama. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 things the President of the U.S. can't actually do. '25. Interpret laws or the Constitution. Does the First Amendment cover free speech on the internet or no? That judgment is not up to the President. It's actually up to the Supreme Court. This is the highest court in the land, as the name implies, and it has the final say on interpreting what a law means. The President has no say in these judgments. 24. Choose members of the Supreme Court on their own. The Supreme Court is a lifetime appointment, meaning that once appointed, a judge is in for the rest of his or her life, unless they choose to retire. Having to replace members is a somewhat rare but serious matter, as they'll hold position longer than the President. While the President does have the job of nominating someone, that nomination has to be approved through the Senate, and they have the power to reject it. 23. Legalize medical marijuana. In order for this to happen, marijuana would have to be reclassified by the DEA from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2 drug. The DEA recently confirmed they won't be doing that anytime in 2016. States still have the power to allow marijuana for medical and recreational use on a state-by-state basis. 22. Legalize/criminalize abortion or any other controversial medical procedure. Choices for things like abortion and medically assisted suicide for terminally ill patients rests with individual states, not the Oval Office. 21. Halt deportations or grant amnesty to all illegal immigrants. President Obama himself has tried to place a temporary ban on deportations of illegal immigrants living in the U.S. via executive order, and it was blocked by the Supreme Court. 20. Freely open borders. Laws passed as far back as 1921 limit the number of immigrants legally allowed into the U.S. each year. The President, along with Congress, determines the maximum number of refugees fleeing foreign nations allowed in each year. 19. Take away Social Security payments. Some candidates may propose laws to increase payments or tax them differently, but these are all a part of a budget that must be passed by Congress. Americans pay into the system, and when they retire, they get a monthly stipend, period. There's lots of talk about Social Security running out, but when that's projected to happen, in 2037, it merely means that current payments will be reduced by around 10%, and there's still lots of time for Congress to pass budgets that'll make up that difference. 18. Drive. Despite being one of the most powerful people in the world, sitting and former presidents are strongly discouraged from driving by the Secret Service, and when they do get the keys, it's only in very controlled situations, like a golf course. 17. Repeal or enforce Common Core or any other federal standard for education. States have an individual right to adopt or reject any federal education guidelines like No Child Left Behind or Common Core. While this may affect any federal funding they receive, each individual state has the right to opt into federal standards or keep their own. 16. Completely forgive student loan debt. Even Obama's loan forgiveness program requires most people to make 10 to 20 years worth of monthly payments before forgiving the debt, and that's if you qualify. Student debt isn't just going to magically poof away, regardless of who's elected in November. 15. Use an iPhone. President Obama went on Jimmy Kimmel in 2015 and explained that he still uses a BlackBerry because the president can't use any phone that contains a recording device. 14. Earn income outside of government salary. Any investments a president has goes into a blind trust until he or she leaves office. 13. Break the law. The president is subject to the laws of the land, such as not lying under oath, like the average citizen. Should he or she break those laws, the House has the right to vote for impeachment, and the Senate has the right to try those cases like a court. 12. Add or reduce welfare programs. Welfare reform of any kind has to be passed either as a law or as part of a budget, meaning it must go through Congress first. While the president can, and often does, propose these laws, he or she alone cannot enact or enforce them. 11. Use executive orders to do whatever they want. In the 1950s, President Truman tried to take control of the nation's steel mills to prevent a strike. The Supreme Court determined that the president lacked the authority to seize control of the U.S. steel industry. If the president oversteps his or her bounds of power, the people, or Congress, have a right to petition the Supreme Court to make a ruling on the executive order in question. 10. Seize all firearms in the possession of private citizens. A lot of buzz is going around about which candidate is pro or anti-Second Amendment, or about new gun control. The president cannot seize anyone's firearms, even during a nationwide state of emergency, without legal reason or cause. 9. Making gay marriage illegal again. In June of 2015, the Supreme Court ruled that gay marriage is a constitutional right. In order for it to change, there would need to be a challenge in lower courts bumped up to the Supreme Court once again to make another ruling with different members. 8. Shut down the government. The government shutdown in October 2013 was the result of a Republican-controlled House and a Democratic-controlled Senate being unable to agree on a budget. The president did not and could not initiate it or end it. 7. Enact trade policy. While there is a fast track for the president to write trade policy, it still must be passed through Congress. Fast tracking simply means Congress cannot amend. They must vote yay or nay. 6. Authorize additional funding for NASA. While the president can propose acts and budgets and talk about the U.S. goals for space travel, the power of NASA funding lies ultimately with Congress, as do all budgetary issues. 5. Repeal the Affordable Care Act or enact anything in its place. Since the Affordable Care Act is already a law, any changes would have to be proposed as a bill, which would then have to be passed through Congress. 4. Formally declare war. That power actually rests with Congress and Congress alone. It is not shared with the president, though the sitting president must sign the declaration of war. 3. Change the tax code. Tax reform, a change to the federal tax code for individuals or businesses, has to go through Congress before becoming a law. Even then, it can be years before it takes effect. 2. Alter or amend the Constitution. Our Constitution can only be changed via a constitutional amendment, which can be initiated by a state or by Congress, but must then have a 2/3 vote in Congress before going on to the states, at which point it must have 3/4 of the states agree on the proposed amendment. In other words, the majority of elected representatives at a federal and state level must agree and pass the amendment. So far, this has only happened 27 times. 1. Change things on a local level. If you care about local taxes, your police department, how the school district is run, what green initiatives are happening in your own area, or drug legalization, you'll want to make sure you vote down ballot, because the more local the issue, the further down the ballot. Your city's chief of police, head of the school board, or statewide green energy laws may affect your day-to-day life just as much, if not more, than who's elected as president. So it's worth taking the time to educate yourself on local elections. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button in the top right corner so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these 2 videos here, or just head to our website at list25.com.